Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols, and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth. And today from Memphis Bibles, we have a new calfskin called Kaleidoscope Tuscania, and this one is in the green. And this has almost kind of a rough feel to it. The grain is like really deep. It actually reminds me a bit of the patinette, and also Jay told me that this is a very difficult leather to skive and to really work with. And this is a newer leather for him that he's testing out, so he wanted me to take a look at it, and of course I agreed. So let's take a look at the spine work first. His spine hubs are not real deep, but you can still see them nicely, but his stamp work, that's one thing about his work that's really good, is that stamp work is deep. As a matter of fact, it's so deep, I don't know that you could rub that off even if you wanted to, because you're not going to touch the gilding. It's so deep in there. I don't know if you can see the depth of it with the camera, but that is probably the deepest stamping I've ever seen. Now, one thing about this that's interesting is he uses a sewing machine, but he uses thicker thread. Generally, when someone uses a sewing machine, you're going to see that really thin thread, but this is really nice thick thread. I like the fact that he used a white to really accent that green. It makes it pop. I thought that was really cool. But one thing about this leather, to kind of give you an idea of what it's like, is look when you curl it. See those wrinkles in it? It almost reminds me of the desert camel that Skylar puts out, but only really super thick, unlike the aniline, which is more kind of thin. So now let's take a look at some of the details of his work. Because this leather is difficult to work with, there's going to be a couple of spots that are going to be problematic. Number one is you're going to see the leather runs a little bit uphill here. But keep in mind, this leather is very thick, and it's also difficult to skive down. When you struggle to skive a thick leather, it's going to show up in the corners. So the corners in this one are not the best corners I've seen. But again, keep in mind, this is a very difficult leather to work with, and this is a new leather for him to work with. I'm sure over time he's going to get it mastered, and actually there's one corner right there that looks good. So this is proof positive that you can get it down. So now let's take a look at the liner. This is a sheepskin liner. Really nice, no gilt lines here, but you can see this is very thick. I mean, you can almost see the impressions made on this leather when you press it down. Look how thick that is. It's really spongy. Very interesting experience, and one of the reasons why I had this text block rebound is because it is so practical. First of all, it has the notes on the bottom, the textual footnotes. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less, depending on the amount of notes for each text. Like this one has several more, but this one is also sold in leather soft, and it's also sold in the premium Premier Collection in the brown goatskin. The reason I love this text block is because, number one, like I said, the notes are on the bottom, out of the way, and then the references are at the end of each verse. So it's really nice to be able to have access to these references as you're reading. So you don't have to look for them. They're not in the middle. They're not at the bottom. They don't have to be separated. As you're reading, you get your references after each verse. Now there's only like 40,000-ish references, so it doesn't have the full suite of references like some of your others, but that would actually be a little too disruptive because there would be multiple to each verse, and sometimes that would slow down your reading experience. So the goal here is to give you references at the end of each verse and make them in a way that is the least distracting. So I don't know a difference between this paper and this paper. I can't really tell by feel, and this is the premium. I'm not certain this is the normal 36 GSM paper. I am pretty sure this is the exact same text block as the premium because, number one, this does not have the red accents, and generally their Premier Collections do not have red letters, but this one actually has the words of Christ in red, and it looks very comparable. The ghosting looks the same. So if you really like that end of verse reference, now one thing about the red letters you'll see is the references are going to be in black, so they're going to be really nice to see. This is a 10.5 point font, and it is in a paragraph format, except for in the poetry. If you want to see the poetry real quick, you can see the poetic settings look like you would normally see them in poetry in the New King James, in that center justified poetic stanzas. So this is really nice. I really love this text block. And then once you get to the end, of course, you're going to have your maps, but you're also going to have a concordance. Now that is a bit of a small font for concordance. It's still there, and you can use it if you need it, and then it has the glossy maps. Now, I want to show you one more thing. If you like this referencing system, it is also available in the King James. The difference is the King James is a single column, verse by verse format, but it does still have those references at the end of each verse. So if you like the verses and the references being together, then this is a really good option for you. Of course, I'm a fan of the NKJV. That's my preference. But whenever I'm studying and I really need to reference, this is the way to do it right here. You got your textual footnotes on the bottom, and then each reference. When there's a major reference after each verse. Now again, keep in mind, this is not the full 73,000 plus references. This is only 40 plus thousand, but still, this is going to give you what you need to get the basic job done to reference back and forth. If you don't know what the purpose of references are designed to tell you where else this topic is taken elsewhere in the Bible. Sometimes there'll be a parallel passage in the Gospels, sometimes it'll be a fulfillment of prophecy, and sometimes in the Old Testament it will be fulfilled in the New Testament, so they will show you where that is fulfilled in the New Testament and back and forth. The textual footnotes are designed to give you the translator thoughts on why they made translation decisions. So if you're looking for a rebind, Memphis Rebinds does a great job, does solid work. He is a hobbyist. He does not do this full-time. Also, this is not a full yap. I'm not sure what he offers as far as yap, but this is just more of a standard yap. But this is an excellent leather. Love the spine work, love the deep stamp work, really like the thick thread that he used on the sewing machine. And if he learns how to skive this leather and get it right, this is going to be a really good option. God bless you. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nicholsworth.